Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today we're looking at the Miranda class. So, the Miranda class, most notably, we got the first see this in Star Trek Two. Um, Now I'm forgetting the name of it. Name of what the second Star Trek was. Oh, The Wrath of Khan, obviously, because Khan takes over the Miranda. Okay, so looking at the stats that we have here, we're going to start off with Daystrom's website. I have to go back to the last unicorn because they do not have the Miranda that I had seen nice and obviously in the Decipher books, but we do have a little bit of a write up in Last Unicorn, otherwise known as Lug. So I'll read a little bit of that, and then we're going to get into our um, D6 holocron stats that we have here today. So let's get down to our reading, which is fairly short. So this is designed to be a smaller and less capable counterpart to the Constitution class. The USS Miranda entered service 1 year before its larger cousin. There was a very high degree of commonality between the two classes, with the nacelles and most of the primary hull being almost identical. The smaller size of these ships was largely accounted for by a lower level of habitability for the crew and a reduction in the number of science labs from 14 to 10. Even so, the Mirandas were full explorer type ships, fully capable of conducting long duration research missions. Their considerable armament also made them an important addition to the defense of the Federation. Now, novel source: the Miranda class USS Bombay served in the Taurus Reach under the command of Captain Grannon in 2265, based at Starbase 47, Vanguard, which I do remember reading that book. During that year, the ship took on a mission to Ranavar 4 to provide a vital replacement part to the colony there. The ship was attacked by six Tholian vessels and destroyed with all hands, though thanks to skillful and aggressive actions by her captain, the Tholians lost four of their six ships in the engagement. And yes, I do kind of remember that. It's kind of like a precursor to where we get all of the stuff for the Wrath of Khan. So, um, getting into our stats here that we have on uh, Daystrom's website. So, this is a destroyer instead of being a cruiser. Let's see. We have the Miranda, which had been upgraded. We do have the Bombay, which was destroyed. There's been 278 others built in total. 80 of them have been lost, and 200 have been retired from service, or at least from primary service. Now, that also means that they could have been taken down to the Merchant Marines or other planetary defense systems or whatever else, because the Federation is a large organization. Let's see, this was commissioned in 2243 until 2269, and the class does remain in service, although it looks like all of them have been retired. Kind of back and forth here. All right. So we have a length of 230 meters, a beam of 127.1 meters, a height of 51 meters. This is all of 8 decks tall. Has a mass of 520,000 metric tons. We have a crew complement of 210. We have six Type 7 phaser banks with an output of 3,000 terawatts, two second class photon torpedo tubes with 40 rounds. Defense systems: we have a standard shield system with a total capacity of 27,000 terajoules, a standard monotanium single hull, standard level structural integrity field. We have a normal warp cruise speed of 4, maximum warp cruise speed of 5, and max rated is 7 for 12 hours. We have a beam firepower rating of 60, a torpedo firepower rating of 125. Weapon range and accuracy is 185. Our shield strength is listed as 100. Our whole armor of 5. Speed is 179. Our combat maneuverability is 5,880. For Daystrom's index, this gives it an overall strength of 120, a diplomatic capability of 3. This has got an expected whole life of roughly of 120 years, although it has been kind of discontinued. Well, no, actually, I take that back because they did use these in the Dominion Wars. We would see an occasional one or two. But on the other hand, it's an existing model that they had so they could keep reusing it as they needed. We do have refit cycle. Our minor and standard is every 5 years. A major is every 30 years. So that's what we have here. Now let me get it to at least um, a refit. Now this would be later on. So now this is our upgraded version. So we have the USS Miranda, which is active. Um, we have a number of ships being listed here. There's 809 other ships in total, or built in total. 384 have been lost in all. 83 of these have been retired from service. So the kind of eat my own kind of socks here. Some of the ones that have been retired may have been upgraded to be in this. That class or that series of class may have been retired, and then they may have refitted them into what we have today. So this was commissioned between 2270 to 2285. We now have a length of 243 meters, a beam of 150 meters, a height of 63 meters, and 18 decks. Now, I don't know where we get the extra 10 decks from. I'm looking back here. We have 51 meters to 63. This seems a little off on their scale here, and I'm just going to be honest. To add 12 meters, you're adding 18 decks. Something doesn't seem quite right there to me. Um, Now, every deck in some of the books, especially from the Decipher, when they're talking about making the ships, every deck is going to be roughly about 3 to 4 meters tall because you're also leaving space in there for your piping to run under the flooring and all that that you're going to need. And as we have all the Jeffries tubes and the crawl spaces and all that, we need that extra height there to be able to run everything from area to area inside that ship between the floors. So you do have kind of a subfloor as well as Jeffries tubes and all the other kind of crawl spaces in between the levels. Now, Daystrom has this listed now at 655 metric tons, a crew of 280. Armament, we now have 18 Type 7 phaser banks with a total output of 8,000 terawatts. We have 4 Class 2 photon torpedo tubes with 150 rounds. The defense system is a standard shield, which is now up to 621 terajoules. We still have the standard duranium single hull, standard level structural integrity field. Our warp went from a 4 to a 5 for our normal cruise. Our maximum cruise is now at 6, and maximum rating is 9.2 for 12 hours. Our beam firepower is listed as 160. Our torpedo firepower is 250. Our weapon range and accuracy is 255. Our shield strength is 230. Our whole armor is 10. Speed is 852, and combat maneuverability is 5,720. Our overall strength index for Daystrom's rating is a 262. Our diplomatic capability is now up to a 4. Our expected whole life is still 120 years. And we still have the refit cycle being the same as what we had before. Now, the additional write up that we have when the Constitution class began to go through a major refit cycle in 2270s, the Miranda were similarly upgraded in order to extend their lifespan as well. They continued to act as Explorer class units for the next century, forming the backbone of Starfleet throughout this period. In time, however, their relatively low cruising speed combined with the gradually increasing distance they had to cover caused by the expansion of the Federation began to wear on the ships. The relative lack of recreational facilities and cramped quarters began to lead to a marked drop off in crew performance, and Starfleet considered retiring the class. Instead, it was decided to use the Miranda design as the basis for a general purpose vehicle or vessel for use within the body of the Federation. The science labs were removed and replaced with extended cargo bays and upgraded weapons fit. The Miranda class was used extensively to patrol the Klingon and Romulan borders as cargo carriers and particularly as colony transport craft. In fleet actions, they acted in support of their larger ships, acting as outer pickets to the fleet. Some vessels were refitted as ammunition ships, using their extra cargo space to carry photon torpedo reloads and phaser components. Others were converted into tankers carrying supplies of duranium and antimatter. A group of 6 ships were fitted with modern extra sensor pods to use in the electronic intelligence role. Their ability to look after themselves during the battle made them an excellent choice for these roles. Today, the Mirandas operate in a similar capacity, and although they are not frontline combat units in themselves, they are still to be seen operating in major fleet actions in support of modern vessels. Recently, several Miranda-class vessels have begun to show signs of serious stress fractures in their hulls. Investigations are underway with all ships of the class, and although the results are yet to be announced, it is thought that the problem is likely due to the age of the hulls. If so, the Miranda class is likely to be forced into retirement sometime over the next few years. So, that's all from Daystrom's speculation. uh, kind of coming up with the reasons why it starts getting phased out. Now, looking at what we have here from, and I will try and get us a picture of the Miranda to look at. Uh, let's see, we do have images. We have some, there we go. There's the Reliant itself. Okay, so this is from Last Unicorn Games. Now, this goes back quite a few years. So I'm flipping pages trying to see if I can find when this was done. This is from back in, say, 99 to, say, 2000. Um, okay, so it's a small write up. It's not a really huge one, but fleet data. This is notes for the ship. A Starfleet fixture of long range scientific supply and extraordinary missions for nearly a century, the Miranda class vessels have probably logged more parsecs than any other single vessel class. During the late 23rd century, Starfleet Command began to place an increasing emphasis on deeper space exploration and surveying. The Miranda class vessels were the first ships launched after the inception of the exploratory vessel initiative, and represent the most notable results of Starfleet's renewed focus on exploration and discovery. Merging a host of diverse capabilities, versatility quickly became a hallmark of the class, although Miranda class ships primarily undertake scientific and exploratory missions. Certain systems modules are swappable. These Miranda variants enjoyed great popularity in the early 24th century, and their expanded tactical and defensive systems are more than a match for most foes. Ships of this class have participated in every major battle of the 24th century, often serving on the secondary or reserve battle lines. Older Miranda class ships are currently decommissioned and sent to surplus depots, scrapped for parts, or used as training vessels. Although the active production life of these ships ceased over a decade ago, many Miranda class vessels continue to serve with distinction throughout the Federation space and beyond. So, um, there are no noteworthy vessels, and I think we've kind of seen a lot of these. Most notably, we have the Miranda, which is the prototype, the Britannia, we have Lantry, the Reliant itself, the Saratoga. Um, I can't pronounce that one. We also have the Brisbane and Vigilant. Let's see. And then we're going to end it with that. So this has got a whole different system here, so I'm not going to look at any of the stats from here, but we are going to look at our D6 stats from D6 Holocron. Okay, so the Miranda, now D6 Holocron does have this listed as a cruiser. I would say probably a light cruiser. This is, of course, a capital scale ship. We have a length of 277 meters, almost 278 meters, has a beam of 173, a height of 65 meters. Ship mass is 655 metric tons, or 655,000 metric tons. Slight note there. Uh, Starship size is a size 5. All right. Capital ship piloting has the autopilot sitting at a 2D plus 1, so just a hair above our galactic standard. We do have a crew of 200. A skeleton crew of 20 can manage the ship with a plus 10 to all skill rolls. Passengers, we can have 35 additional passengers on board. Cargo capacity is 45,000 metric tons. We do have enough consumables on board for 2 years. Our warp drive is our standard warp, a warp 5. Maximum warp is a 5.8. A max rated warp is 7.2. So that's really what we see on the original, not on the upgraded. Um, of course, we're going to have our nav computer, which is our standard for all Star Trek vessels. We have a maneuverability of a 1D plus 1, has a space speed of 8, a hull strength of 3D, and shields of 1D plus 1. Now, when we look at our sensors, we have passive scanning going out to 4 kilometers with a 1D plus 2 bonus, an active scan going out to 12 kilometers with a 2D plus 2 bonus, an active search going out to 15 kilometers with a 3D bonus. We also have a focus of 400 meters with a 3D plus 2 bonus. Now, looking at our weapon systems here, we have 2 Type 7 phaser cannons. These are channeled, giving us a 180-degree forward dorsal uh, firing arc. So this is forward port and starboard. Crew of 1, fire control is 2D. Fire rate is 3, with 3D plus 1 damage per fire. Let's see, we also have 6 Type 7 phaser banks. Now this is giving us all the way around. Fire control is 2D, another fire rate of 3, and damage is 2D plus 2. These are non-channeled, so I'm going to guess that the channeled ones are going through your warp core, as it was kind of mentioned in Star Trek: The Motion Picture. It increases the the firepower of the phasers. These are going to be the ones that you kind of see on the port and starboard side, where the other ones are your standard going all the way around. Thinking about that as we're talking this over. All right. Now we have 4 photon torpedo launchers, 2 forward, 2 aft. Fire control is 2D. We have 40 Type 2 photon torpedoes total. Has a spread of 4, so we can shoot 4 in each launcher with a damage of 4D. We have a Class Beta tractor beam. This is going to be at Starfighter scale. Fire control is 1D plus 1. and strength of 4D plus 2. We also have two Class Alpha tractor beams. This is for our shuttle bays. Again, it's going to be at Starfighter scale. Fire control is only at a plus 2, and strength is 3D. Now, one of the things I've never really talked about, but I think the reason why we really see a huge difference between the fire control on these is when we have a tractor beam bringing our shuttles in, it's not like someone's actively trying to fight us on staying out of that. Unlike with our standard tractor beam, sometimes we're trying to get asteroids out of the way, sometimes we're trying to lock onto enemy ships and stuff like that, that we need a better fire control there. So, crew quarters. We do have housing barracks for 120 crew members. We have Spartan barracks for 40, basic barracks for 20, and expanded barracks for 10. Now, this is being listed as 11 decks, so this is kind of hitting that halfway mark between uh, the original and upgraded version, where they said we went from 8 decks to suddenly 15 decks by adding 12 meters. I'm thinking maybe more of 10 decks. Odd, Oddly enough, I really like the smaller ships. I've said this many times. I think I would really go more with the 8 decks or so, but it is fine. It is what it is. All right, so we do have 120 escape pods with a capacity of 12 beans in each one. We do have the year that this was commissioned by Earth Reckoning, about 2274. We have 2 transporter bays with a capacity of 6 persons in each. We have 3 emergency transporters that can carry 22 persons each, and 3 cargo transporters which can move 200 kilograms each. Uh, Shuttlecraft, we do have shuttlecraft capability for 4 craft total. Um, and I think we've gone enough of a reading on all this stuff. So I'm going to kind of pass up a lot of this. Um, but this is all coming to us from the Memory Alpha and Memory Beta. Um, if I was going to do any changes on this, my biggest thing would be either probably upgrading the warp drive to what Daystrom has our newest version of this doing. Um, and ship size being 11 decks, I think we could live with that. I know there's a lot of you out there, and I see it on some of the different forums. Some of them I really like the designs, but I'm like I've said many times before, I like the smaller ships. Um, a lot of you really like a lot of the bigger ships, which is fine. And I see a lot of ships that would typically be a small ship, but a lot of people come up with very large designs for these. So I'm sure a lot of you would like to see this as a 15 level or deck level ship, and that's what makes everyone unique. We all have our different views. So um, if I was going to try and keep this around even longer, I think knock it down to the Merchant Marine. Um, it was already kind of being mentioned from Daystrom's website that a lot of the stuff has been pulled out of here. It has really become more of a transport. Maybe even if it's a training ship or whatever, by knocking some of the extra stuff out of here, we can open up a bigger shuttle bay as we're trying to get people used to doing a lot of the different functions of the day. Because we could have shuttles that have science stations on there, so we could have more people doing more things, getting that extra experience. I think that this would really work very well for that. I've always liked how this design is. I like kind of the roll bar where we have the torpedo launcher system up there. I always thought that was kind of neat. Although I will admit, trying to get people up there is always going to be a little bit of an interesting take on it, but it is what it is, and we just kind of go from there. With that, thank you so very much for joining me today. It's always wonderful having you here. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video.